Rebel, are you gonna take that, man? TJ was just trash talking your waifu, man. How are you gonna let him talk about lemontartdreamer's Ari that way?
Listen, man, the results will stand for themselves at the end of the day. That's all I'm saying, brother. Like,
okay. Well, the Des was just talking about it. I gotta ask, man. Do you want the salty run back? Because after that game number 1, I could totally go. What?
No, man. See, here's what I want. I want the salty run back. I don't want the Ari in the game, and I don't want the Udyr in the game. I want the Udyr out of the game because I think it's better for UTD, and Kolthro is too damn good at that champion. And instead of the Ari, I want the Sylas because I think LTD could run things if he had Sylas in a game like that because he's an amazing team fighter, and as long as he has a little bit more damage, a little bit more skirmish power, he could be mean. But that would give us probably one of the most explosive games that we've seen in the entire tournament as well here in the first round. But I can only hope. I think things will be a lot different here walking into game number 2.
I'm with you, Tyler. I want the Ari just run back right away. Don't listen to Rebel. Don't listen to TJ. We'll ignore our analyst S for right now. But if not the Ari, Sylas is another one you did pop out. What else do we have in the wheelhouse of lemontartdreamer that we've seen stand out? I know Rise is one that he pulled out against Riverside.
Yeah, he's got like a combination of things between either just like really powerful mages to be able to team fight with, but he's also good at some of the assassin, more like melee type picks, and I think that's more fitting. Now the problem with this is if you take some of the stuff that he's really good at skirmishing with to stuff that's like a little more handsy, right? Like requires a bit more kind of a dedication to your craft of just being like a hands player. Then you bring out the Riven player in Meslo, which is what I'm trying to instigate here. That we get a Riven mid lane versus like a Sylas mid lane, which would be incredibly mean to watch between these two because they're two of my favorites when they're able to bring out skirmishing type champions just all over the map. All I want to see is these two mid laners fighting everywhere with somebody at all times. So
it's the right teams to do it. We can hope, we can cross our fingers that the Riven will go through, that the Sylas will go through. Tough chance, but you never really know. As for the rest of the game, do you see much of a shakeup in terms of the draft? I'm looking back on the draft. For you said the only thing that should be really changed is the Ari. Was there any champions? Because when I was looking at the bottom lane for UC San Diego, I did see a lot of struggles down there with this Jhin and Leona combo.
So at the beginning of the game, I think they had a bit of struggle. That's to be a little bit anticipated because of the like double range in the Lucian Nami, which is incredibly powerful to leverage at the beginning of the game. The thing is that they go back to Jhin as a comfort champion again and again. So I don't know how much comfort that Disrespect has on specifically this character versus other characters, and whether it would make it worse or better. But I was actually really happy with the way that Disrespect played into a lot of those team fights with the Jhin pick, to where like if he has a Jinx or something that carries a little bit harder, I think he could have had a lot bigger effects in a number of different circumstances. Maybe, again, this is me just kind of spitting this out because he played so safely and so far away with the Jhin that like he didn't feel like he was punishable in some fights, and maybe it's just rose-colored glasses in that regard. But I feel like Disrespect actually exceeded my expectations for contributions inside of team fights as to what I was kind of expecting him to do after the early game. And so maybe there is a bit of breathing room down there. If they don't have to worry about the Lucian Nami in the early game, if they decide to throw a wrench into that plan by banning out the Lucian or something akin to it, maybe they have an opportunity to strike towards the bottom lane. Maybe KingClueless can actually make things happen down there instead of focusing up to the top side.
That's tough when we look at the actual bans that happened in the last draft, because it was so marksman heavy when it came to ban after ban. It was like Jinx, Xayah, and Misfortune all taken off. Graves, if you want to include that one. So excluding Graves, because we just want to focus on the bot side. Sure. That lane was just so heavily attacked in the grand scheme of things. So I feel it's very hard to for any team to really try and draft towards what they want in terms of the marksman role. You still have that flexibility for AIRREN, who has been proven to be established in being a very versatile marksman in terms of what he takes in the draft. So yeah, the challenge more than anything seems like the draft for me for UC San Diego and how they play this out. But we are going to have a side swap for this one, Rebel, as UC San Diego will be on blue side.
And something that I'm going to note about a game like this is that they don't now necessarily have to ban out all these marksmen, because you don't get first the dibs at marksmen from the side of GVU, where you're playing against AIRREN, this incredibly powerful bot lane duo we've been hyping up for the majority of the series. Now you get your first pick, and immediately off the board. I understand that entirely. Kolthro got his bear slap game in. They will not let him do it a second time.
Yeah, Coach Tyler mentioned it. Never going to get to play it again throughout the rest. The round of 16, it is officially off the table. We'll just take away a ban from each team and throw that Udyr right in there for
I'm sure that everybody but GVU would be very happy about that, or at least most teams except GVU and maybe ASU would be very happy about that, but fortunately not going to be the case. I am also noticing that they keep banning the Ziggs, which like that has to be a disrespectful ban because he plays it, played it a little bit. I don't think nearly as much as the Jhin, but they want to remove anything that can sandbag the bottom lane, and Ziggs is one of the champions that was an expert at doing that a while back, and still does that from time to time, especially for very good Ziggs players, being able to prevent AIRREN and Pluto from playing out the game that they want. This is one of the champions that can do so. So it's a question of, is there anything else outside of Jhin that they can do that with that maybe has more carry potential? Or do they actually go back to like, hey, we can actually play Jinx? Because right now, Jinx still on the board, Xayah's still on the board, Miss Fortune's still on the board. They can take anything that they want if they need to. Miss Fortune's going to get banned out here. So now, if you ban out Jinx, almost certainly the Xayah gets responded to. And if you don't ban out Jinx, I feel like you leave it up. He takes the better of it.
Is this UC San Diego just getting defaulted back onto that Jhin? They do have a few more things they can go to the wheelhouse for. One of the things that worked in the playoffs for them, constantly running towards the Zeri more than anything else. The Jinx was one of the big primary picks for them. Karma going to get banned away. Again, that is a focus towards Pluto, who is popping off on that champion, has been spectacular on it. One more ban to go before we get our first pick for UC San Diego.
Yes, and you can notice the Jinx is available as well as the Xayah. So I think that's just the end-up trade-up that we have to give up here, where Grandview is going to take the better of those two. And if you're San Diego, I think the Xayah has to be the one that you grab, which means if GVU is going to ban one, I think the Xayah is going to have to be the selection here, because that either prompts you into taking Jinx, or it means that you have to have a response to the Xayah outside of the two that have been banned away. So now, you see San Diego, they grab the Xayah first overall. What does GVU have in their wheelhouse that's able to deal with it? I think this makes a lot of sense. And it should be something safe enough that disrespectful. He's got his own peeling tools. Now, again, you can set up for the bottom lane play, or you can just throw him into a team fight and should be able to peel.
Yeah, nice to have that, and the flexibility of the build you can do with the Xayah. The lethality has been so prominent as of lately. Just the return of the Blade Caller, so much damage that can come by surprise. Paired with the Featherstorm, the self-peel and the protection that you get. Kolthro now hovering over for the Viego. And this is a champion that, so far in the year of amateur play more than anything else, he's been seeing a lot of return to. It's been more of his number ones, I want to say, for amateur alone. I'm not sure how much he's played it in collegiate. Yeah, this one's getting locked in.
Over the course of the tournament, we've been talking about Viego being like a crusher champion inside of this event, inside of collegiate, because every single skirmish, every single fight usually leads to kills, which means that there's always a reset angle for the Viego to take over a fight. So that's what they like to talk about. That's what our desk talked about yesterday quite a bit when it comes to the Viego pick. And if you're not going to get the Udyr, this is still something that can scrap in melee range very effectively, take over fights in meaningful ways. Not exactly the same way an Udyr does, can't be that kind of major front line for your team, but at minimum you do have something that Kolthro can carry on from a melee distance as well, something he's probably more comfortable on than normal.
All right, so tank support, all to the norm for Unless. He is going to lock in that Nautilus alongside the Xayah in the bottom lane. So you're going to get the hook. You get a little bit of presence in the team fight with the depth charge, but the bottom lane shown so far for UC San Diego, saving their jungle and saving their solo lanes.
I think just trying to deny as much the Rakan pick here, that or of course the Rakan going over to the side of San Diego, they want to remove that from the Xayah, but the two have kind of been unlatched from the hip. They're not nearly as necessary with one another now. As San Diego slowly assembling a team of mean champions, the Ornn goes into Anx's possession, where last game it was Prankuru, which is crazy because Prankuru oftentimes plays very, very like weak side. I remember one of our deskers was talking about it as well before the game had started. I think it was Tyler saying that he had interviewed Prankuru, who said that he wanted to play weak side as often as he could. He's a weak side champion. And so being able to have the Ornn is a great thing. Now, just taking a little bit of a step up. Still probably not going to receive a bunch of resources, but it's a GP for Prankuru to punish the Ornn with.
All right, so the Gangplank locked in over in the top lane. We got our matchup, the Ornn versus the Gangplank. Jungle role as well as support role locked in for Grandview. So far, showing a very strong front line is UC San Diego, as they have both the Nautilus and the Ornn, potential for team fight and self-peel, as well as that mid-game skirmish and fight for UC San Diego. As we head into the second phase of the draft, banning away a lot of the solo laners, as Victor and Aurelia removed from the Rift.
Interesting. A couple of kind of champions being removed from the board. It's the Aurelia and the Graves, which is taken off the board here for KingClueless to be able to grab up in that jungle position almost certainly. Unless maybe they're anticipating that Anx hasn't picked the champion and that this is a mid lane Ornn coming out, which would be wild to think about for San Diego, because I don't think they've shown anything like that the majority of the season. Doesn't mean it's impossible. Of course, here they're trying to figure out what it is to go to. They're gonna have to give information as well. I think that you have to take a top lane, or my apologies, you have to take your ADC pick here. Mid lanes have been banned out, so you're just gonna have to use that counter pick. So right here, you're expecting whatever bot laner that they're gonna go with. Zeri would be an interesting one, just because again the champion has fallen a little bit out of favor, but doesn't mean it's completely unplayable. We still see players pop off on it from time to time. It's still potentially in the wheelhouse. AIRREN.
All right, Ezreal locked in for AIRREN. Over in the marksman role, this will provide some, an extent of self-pill, an extent of safety. You can scale up for the mid-game, so some more power coming out, as well as some more global presence in a way, a lot of more poke coming out in a way for Grand University, but interesting lock-in coming out of UC San Diego as they go for the Qiyana.
Most disgusting champion in the game, always. I will stand by that. No way we just got Qiyana Karthus locked in here. Okay, somebody broke loose the analysts at the next level, and they're drafting for San Diego right now, because I guarantee you most of them are actually they're on it right now. The Qiyana Karthus combination is a mean one. Yeah, no Riven. It's just our producer messing with us because he was a big MEC producer as well, so he knows all the tips and tricks about listening in, making sure that he's gonna have the Riven for us.
There's a lot of damage, a lot of teamfight potential, a lot of short range though coming out on the UC San Diego as they finalize their composition.
Interesting. Okay. It's just the assassin versus assassin matchup actually coming into mid lane. That is, of course, unless it's lemontartdreamer, but I assume it's going to be the Karthus jungle coming out here. Yeah, that's exactly what it's going to be. Hands champions in the mid lane. Decerux, hands champions. That's what we like to do. Yeah, hands champions. This is very, very skirmish heavy from both of them, wanting to be able to get out and about on the map. Qiyana's got one of the most impactful ultimates inside of skirmishes or team fights to be able to utilize. A lot of potential for lemontartdreamer to take over a game like this, and Meslo just wants to be able to mess up in the individual laning phase up against that one, taking a very mobile, very high instant target damage here, taking a bit of a skill check into lemontartdreamer as well, having seen the composition.
All right, are we gonna have a bloody game in this one? I see the Ezreal in the bot lane, and it makes me lean away slightly. But then you start talking about hands champions, Rebel. You start talking about hands champions, and I start looking at Viego. I start looking at LeBlanc. I see Reset City on one side. Look at the other side. You got the Requiem, just waiting to finish off a lot of those low health targets. I see the potential for a bloodbath, Rebel.
So I see the potential for a bloodbath. I think we could be in for a very quiet game to start things off. You've got GP and Ornn in the top lane. You've got Karthus versus Viego. Both of them love farming. And yes, we do have the exciting assassin matchup in the mid lane, but I think both bot lanes are also comfortable taking this one into later stages. I think, if anything, we're going to see LTD shift into the bottom side and try to put pressure into Rakan and into Ezreal in control for dragons, because if they're able to do so, again, they can generate these bigger 5-on-5 fights where this massive supreme display of talent is going to be more valuable, and you're just buying time for KingClueless to kind of scale up in a game like this as well. For the most part, I think that LTD is going to have to run interference, making sure that there's no infraction upon KingClueless, because if KingClueless gets into like 2-item territory, this game gets really hard. There's no tanks to stoke damage for GVU, so he's got a lot of damage on this Karthus that could be very unrespondable in the wrong circumstances. There's a lot of to and fro here on both teams. I actually really love the way that this game is played out. Both compositions are very exciting in their own ways and have a lot of interesting interactions when it comes to all stages of the game as well.
Are we just going to see game number one then? Because even with game number one, we're expecting something more explosive. No, this one, you're going ahead, you're tempering my expectations a little bit. I don't appreciate that, Rebel. But with that game number one, they just kind of idly played by until they didn't. Around like the 14-minute mark, that's when everything went explosive. I'm hoping that's going to be the time that the trigger gets pulled for these two teams, because I want to see hands champions. I want to see a bloodbath. I want to see a fight, Rebel. I want to see a fight.
Yes. So how I see it is that GVU has a couple of options. So the biggest ones to me are Kolthro and Pluto getting about on the map, mostly breaking out Meslo to make sure that lemontartdreamer is stuck where he stands. If they can do that, they can start to clamp off KingClueless from being able to full clear. They can use Gangplank ultimate to support wherever play on the map is going to go. It actually feels like a very active game for Viego to have to play to make sure that there isn't anything falling by the wayside. So there's that as well. You have to consider, dragon stacking, whether UCSD wants to play into their powerful pushing bottom lane with the Xayah, or whether or not they want to go for more of a gold advantage, because again, you flood gold into Qiyana, you flood gold into Karthus, and they're going to feel great. And the same can be said of GVU, where again, if you're putting pressure onto the Karthus and you can capture like neutral objectives to begin the game, it's going to feel great, but you don't want a team fight necessarily. But the Rift Herald could also set you on a great path where the LeBlanc can kind of take over the game. The Gangplank gets a bunch of damage. There's so much to and fro about this early game. I feel like it's really decided. We could either see them pass like ships in the night, or they're going to run right into each other like minute one, and there's going to be so much action, and it's going to go crazy to start things off.
All right, Grandview University at match point against UC San Diego. Catch you all up on this. You know, Grandview has been a dominant team from the Midwest. Only had one competitor in Purdue, as they had a tear in the entire playoffs, not losing a single game to get their regional throne. You look over at UC San Diego, who had rather low expectations given how new their roster was to competitive. Well, they exceeded it and then some, and now here's the big mission. They're going against battle-proven players standing on the opposite side of the rift. Now, can they come together against this experienced roster and break into the round of 16?
It's a great test of resilience here, not just for, I think, themselves, but also for the West in being able to kind of prove that they are a region that at minimum has some depth to it, because beating Grandview would be a big statement. I don't think it's expected by anybody. I think Grandview has really come together as a team. And if San Diego's at least able to take them to game 3, if not just win out the series altogether, it's a pretty big statement win that the West has got a lot more depth than I think teams thought. Hopefully enough of a statement to be able to get a lot of these players the attention that they truly deserve inside of some of the competitive space, if not just in CLO, but also inside of amateur and all these other places as well.
Yeah. I mean, North American development. For those of you who are coming from the LCS, Danny, Jojo, we saw him around these levels of play, around amateur and collegiate. We saw him a lot around there. Casting them, we watched them grow up and get all the way to the LCS, get all the way to the Prove Scene. It'd be nice to watch one of these players in the future be able to kind of repeat that type of path and continue the development for North America.
It'd be very nice to see. It's always nice to see players that come from collegiate background, from amateur background, be able to take very, very good places inside of some of the upper levels of play, academy, and even into professional play, like you said, with some of the players that came from the LCS, where they just took over the entire league. That's what happens. Very nice play.
A nice hook to come in from Disrespectful. Only level 1, so just harassment for the time in the bot lane. Taking a look at the pathing, we're expecting more power farming, so nothing too interesting to come out of this pathing, but both of these junglers on a route to meet each other.
Absolutely. They're both on the path to the bottom side. Kolthro probably has just like the pure advantage when you're considering champion v champion to kick things off, unless KingClueless is just an absolute legend at this Karthus and is able to hit every single Q on the way in, and Kolthro maybe messes up a flash or something like that. But I don't anticipate that it's going to be a grab contest coming through from KingClueless. If anything, he wraps back up to top grab. It's more likely that he probably just takes his Krugs and backs and then immediately runs to top side and then grabs up the Scuttle Crab on the top side of the map as just like a part of his next clear. But ultimately, we're not going to expect a lot of ganking to come through, maybe not even from Viego, if Kolthro decides that that's going to be the option as well. Which again opens up this game to like, how much action are we going to get if the junglers are just completely silent? We might get some shenanigans in the mid lane. We might get some shenanigans in some skirmishes around neutral objectives, but that's what we're hoping for, I think, in terms of action if we don't get anything else.
All right, let's put a bet in then. When is first blood going to happen? Give me the minute that first blood happens.
The minute that first blood happens. I'm going to say 4 minutes.
Is it going to just be right now?
I just said 4 minutes.
All right. A little bit of a skirmish right here.
Hold on. Wait 30 seconds. Hold on.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Wait 30 seconds. Wait. No!
First blood's going down. Kolthro will grab it, and the reset begins. He's able to take that Karthus form, but he can do nothing with it if he's not level 6. Now Meslo chasing down Unless. lemontartdreamer on the wrong side of the wall. AIRREN will finish off that kill. It's 2 for Grandview University early. Only 1 picked up by UC San Diego as they try and escape this engage. Unless forced to burn the flash.
And Kolthro able to utilize the Karthus passive afterwards to be able to put some additional damage on the lemontartdreamer, waiting for that last possible moment to get over top of the pit, which gives them the 2 versus 1 kill advantage here. And this was the play. I didn't think KingClueless would do this. I thought it was smarter to just back and go topside to take that crab instead, because the crabs aren't really that valuable. But instead, he believed in his ability to do this. Meslo and both bot lanes show up all at once. But the dead Karthus, they are standing on top of it. They put out a really good amount of damage. lemontartdreamer does get the assassination. But if you note, again, the passive carries over as well, and he wasn't able to dodge 2 Qs. Buys time for AIRREN. If that Karthus passive, if he doesn't get hit with like 2-3 Qs during that process, he just is able to get over the wall pretty freely, but instead ends up going down in a trade of 1-for-1, and ultimately is a 2-for-1 for Frank.
The sheer power of friendship for Grandview University. And that income going to AIRREN. Gotta love that. This guy knows the grind, right? He's worked very hard to make a name for himself, not only in collegiate, but in amateur. And he's had a lot of consistency, to say the least. This man racks up kills. It's kind of insane. One of the stars that I think people should have their eyes on in this tournament, or future tournaments such as Proving Grounds. Look at this exchange going on as the Exhaust is going to be played. Used onto lemontartdreamer. lemontartdreamer trying to slide away. Here comes Kolthro. It's the max
No
range,
shot!
but it's not enough damage to take him down.
Oh, I think Meslo was just too low on mana to be able to distortion and throw another ability here, so kind of incredible. And he's got enough health to stay here and catch the wave, too. Oh my goodness. How does he slip out? You can't not love this guy. You can't. I know it wasn't that great of an outplay, but I can't help but love it. He picks the Qiyana, gets the first kill, gets out of that gank, does everything necessary. But this is the roaming power that GVU is going to bring to a lot of these situations, right? Kolthro on his own isn't as menacing when you don't have great gank setup, and you don't have that in spades, really, for anybody but Rakan. So the trick is, you latch Rakan to the hip of Kolthro, and you start attacking other lanes. Right there was the first instance of it, but I expect that it's going to continue throughout the game.
Ooh, I'll play with lemontartdreamer. You jumped right past it a little bit too fast. I just wanted to, like, kind of bask in how enamored you are by this mid laner.
Oh, yes. Like I said, it was one day I found him. I love goofy names, and this is kind of a goofy name, right? Like, having a name is like really important, especially when it's iconic, and it's hard to mass up on like lemontartdreamer. You're like, oh wow, and then you shorten it to LTD, so it's like an Eastern name where it's like the shortening of a name back in that regard too. And then when he pops off in front of me, like you can't help but fall in love, especially when he's got stats to back it up. So. I've been impressed. I just get nothing but excited when I'm able to see him, and I'm glad I get to cast him because I think he's a superstar. Maybe not in everybody's eyes, but he's my superstar, so that's what matters.
Belongs to you. He belongs to you. That's okay.
Truly.
I truly accept that, Rebel. That is the way to be as KingClueless. Getting up over on this top side. Here comes the wall of pain.
No.
Easy bait. Call the Forge God. Misses though. Prankuru tries to sidestep. He's still alive. The boy will not get the revenge kill. Unfortunately, the turret will not take him down. Now, fight going on in the mid lane. Meslo versus lemontartdreamer. Tart takes another shot as Meslo will step away thanks to the distortion, thanks to the ethereal chains on top of that. But Kolthro, the river waiting for the bush. A little bit of a bait being placed here in the mid lane, Rebel.
Yeah, same as what happened in the top lane just seconds ago. We'll see if he falls for it. lemontartdreamer, I think he thinks that he has support from the top side, but unfortunately... Okay. This is...
Oh, there's the Ignite. lemontartdreamer not following through. Requiem, not enough damage. Only about 200 damage on that Requiem to Meslo, so he is perfectly fine. Levels up, gets a little bit of health on back on top of that.
Easy enough. And I want to go back to this bait, because this was awesome, right? Like, he goes to build an item, and Prankuru is like, you can't do that in this... Oh. I get it now. I understand. At the last second, he gets the wall of pain, and it's just like, He actually did a really good job of trying to outplay this. He was perhaps one auto attack and one reset of the trial by fire from getting the last tick of damage to trade onto Angst, at least something back. But unfortunately, he just doesn't happen. And even worse, Clueless gets the kill, which is like, that's like the worst possible timeline to both die, to have your wave shoved into the tower, and then also the Karthus to grab that kill into it.
I love it. I need that clipped. That is the best bait I've ever seen. I didn't even notice he went down to go create the item. I didn't see the animation go off. And beautiful, just as beautiful as that hook was.
He stopped it
from going over the wall. KingClueless will pick up the reward of that beautiful hook from Unless.
Okay, I said that I'm running on the love of Kalita right now. I don't know that I can handle a third game. I know we're early to talk about that. The gold is very even, but like this is too exciting for my poor little heart to handle. As now Clueless picked up kills on both sides of the map off the setup of the CC from the Nautilus and the Ornn. Incredible kickoff for this guy that we were told is such a star for this team. Highest ELO, one of the returning members from last year, standing up to a lot of what he needed to in order to compete with a team like GVU.
Ooh, Lemontart trying to get the ultimate. Now here comes the re-engage. Pluto will get the knock up onto Lemontart, but backup is here, and UC San Diego ready to bring the fight right back as they lose one. They realize they cannot take another shot. GVU University will even up the kill line and head over to Rift Herald.
And a great reinforce through the mid lane actually sets up for some pretty solid play. lemontartdreamer, again, thinks that he has support from the bottom side of the map, but it's Pluto who gets there first. He's able to make this roam. We talked about this, that the Rakan can get out and about a lot faster than what Unless is able to, I think, on this Nautilus in the majority of situations that Rakan is drafted for in a lot of circumstances. And here, making an effect in the mid lane. It was almost a supreme display of talent to assassinate, but instead leads to an overextension. The mid lane is punished. The Rift Herald is taken off that top pressure. While gold is still there for San Diego, they've been able to put it into the Karthus very effectively. GVU is finding strikes on this map.
GVU University, very slow, back and forth for both of these teams, but GVU is the one just barely getting a slight edge onto that gold lead. Still looking at plates, though. We're still looking how this is going to play out. as not much has been picked up in that side of things. Take a look at KingClueless, though. He's trying to make the play on the top side once again towards Prankuru.
No way it works twice, right? Like,
No way.
no way.
No way.
He tries to build an item and Prankuru falls
Oh,
no.
Definitely not now that Lemon-Tart has shown, but they're still going to go for the engage. Here comes Call the Forge God, gets the knock up on the Prankuru. We'll pop the oranges, we'll get some damage in. A Kolthro brings even more to make this a 1-for-1 on the top side. Continues the chase, will pop the ultimate onto KingClueless, goes for the sidestep. Here is backup from Meslo, a kill acquired, and Kolthro will live for one more second off of that reset. Now Meslo dancing around right here. The mana bar, oh so low for KingClueless, will get dropped.
Oh no!
He will sing his song, and down goes Meslo.
And again, it is KingClueless who is the beneficiary, getting 2 more kills after everything is said and done. Being able to get this Karthus into an incredible position. They're setting up dives with this Ornn, which is incredible because normally you're setting up your top laner, but it's the top laner setting up the jungler for a lot of progress instead. lemontartdreamer gets this assassination, but the barrel slowed him down enough for Kolthro to catch. And then he's like, I gotta get onto these two. I can actually find kills. If he gets the reset, he's able to get enough damage here onto Clueless. Maybe they can generate enough with him and Meslo. Now, Kolthro barely didn't take enough damage on the initial part of this, and I think that was what cost a little bit, because that might have actually been the breaking point where Meslo just ditches, but enough damage was dropped that he thought that this was worth it. Look at this. Look at this. He predicted the last Q. Oh, it's so pretty. Oh, how is he this good at Karthus? Man, he's playing against assassins. It's not fair.
2 of those able to land just enough to make the Requiem be lethal on Meslo. And that was an exchange that was looking like it was going to be Grandview's title. It was brutal right there for UC San Diego to fight and claw to get their way back into this. They still got a long way to climb in this best-of-3 series right here.
There's a lot of scaling to be done still. Meslo is still incredibly menacing, and now on the LeBlanc, because he is almost on the first item. He almost has the Ludens completed alongside the Sword Shoes, and that means that, like, lemontartdreamer has tough time in lane. There's no magic resist on him. There's no magic resist on KingClueless either, so he just gets assassinated if he were to run into him either. This is where Meslo can start to help take over the map. This is where that point of being this mid laner and having an assassin champion with some hands is going to be useful for helping get the map further ahead. Kolthro's did a good job of salvaging a little bit of something, but I think Meslo's assistance is going to start helping quite a bit.
I'm sorry, Rebel. I can't get over every time you just reference them as having hands. I love it. Prankuru is about to see a hands diff right now as 2 members coming up towards the top side to punish him once again. He will flash away and survive. Barely able to slide out is Prankuru.
Frog. Get absolutely frogged at the end of that one, Prankuru. You ganked him twice, you baited him, you can't get him a 3rd time. He's going to get out of that one just as fast as he can. Yeah, no more. The Rift Herald thrown into bottom side as well, gets first tower of the game. That's going to the pocket of the Viego as well as AIRREN. So that's a good amount of gold being put into some of the scaling members here from Grandview to be able to continue to contest. It actually might get a second charge. It just barely gets the second charge as the wave comes in. And that is going to be the charge. Again, it doesn't get you any gold, but it does set up potentially for an inner tower take a little bit later on if nobody's able to stop them anytime soon.
It's a pretty nice vision coming out from Grandview as they do take the reset right here. Primarily because Dragon is spawning. They do have access to the 2 main ramps, mostly access to it. One in the Pixel Brush, one in the Try to watch out where UC San Diego is going to come from. Big thing here, UC San Diego taking a creative path. You can't exactly see where they're coming from as they didn't take that Pixel Brush. And they will get an easy priority into this Dragon Pit.
Well, easy enough to set up. And again, if you challenge into them, then you have to worry about the supreme display of talent, which is just disgusting. You also have the Ornn ultimate, which is another really big thing that you have to consider. So it is just going to be yielded over to the side of San Diego from Grandview. And now you start to question, like, okay, they're on 2 dragons. You've got about 1,000 gold lead of advantage. The second Rift Herald is going to be up any second now. What is going to happen from Grandview, right? Like, what exactly is their plan here? Are they going to go for second Rift Herald? Is that their first attempt? Are they going to try to start contesting around the next dragon when they have enough gold for a number of members to really be in their, like, first, second item spikes and they can start really making plays? At what point does Grandview start attacking to try to take control? Because right now, I would say they have it, but they need to, like, rip control and have just complete jurisdiction of the game, which I would not say that they had at this point. San Diego still is scaling. They still have a lot of agency to make their own plays over the course of what we've seen so far. They're not kind of playing to the tune of Grandview the way that you would want them to at this point.
Meslo coming in towards lemontartdreamer. There is a flank that can potentially come in, but Lemon Tart will be able to clear up the golems and back out. So for UC San Diego, this has been a rough game as we start heading towards the mid game right now. So much control from Grandview University coming towards this bottom side of the map as they try and set up for that mid lane tower. And that setup's going to work out. That pressure is going to work out. They will grab and open up the rift even more. And now setting up for a dive onto lemontartdreamer. lemontartdreamer trying to slide on out, make this a tricky one to lock down onto. Meslo, easy walk away as that tower, oh so low. They're just dying to cash in on that gold.
They are. The inner tower's worth so much too. You can smell just how much that they actually want to be able to rip that one away. And again, Grandview slowly kind of ticking away at the structures. If they can grab some of the inner towers as well, if they can grab the Rift Herald and grab that one as well, big. Ooh, unless really wanted to go for the around the thing right there, catching onto the terrain. Unfortunately, preventing that hook from landing onto Meslo. It's able to just distortion away pretty easily. As again, Grandview, they want to push this gold advantage. The Rift Herald is what comes up next, and you can see 4 members, now 5 members, I think, deploying up to the top side of the map. So you're paying attention to that. Prankuru pushing out top just as fast as he can to make sure the wave is shoved in so that they have the ability to move everyone into top side for that if the time comes.
Trying to defend into this mid lane. Here comes the cannon barrage. Kolthro jumps in, goes after KingClueless, will not be able to land the snare onto him. Two-shot barrage goes wide at the same time. But chasing out UC San Diego away from here, goal is to grab that Rift Herald that has been started up on the opposite side of things. Now look at Prankuru. Oh my goodness, Meslo, excuse me, will get the kill onto lemontartdreamer over in the mid lane. My goodness, over the wall. That was brutal right there. Losing their mid laner, UC San Diego cannot contest this Rift Herald with Grandview.
Saw him with the sweeper, was able to get the chain onto him, and as he jumped over for some kind of counterplay and an attempted counter kill, which he did almost get with the supreme display of talent, that is when AIRREN was able to catch him with this. Rift Herald is the play. Number of members get dropped really low with that Karthus ultimate, but there's nothing to really drive them off because there aren't all 4 members ready to make a play instead. So now, I mean, we're just looking at, say Grandview just gets a winning play. They get not only the kill, they get to move into top side, their setup works 100%, and they can continue to push this gold advantage, which I think, again, is the one thing that they can build upon here. They're down 2 dragons, but this gold advantage means they can really start to fight back.
Yeah, you still have the Rift Herald on Kolthro on top of that, so getting that gold influx as fast as possible, working so well for Grandview University 17 minutes into this game. That dragon spawning within the next minute and 30 seconds will be an Infernal Drake. For UC San Diego, an Infernal Drake getting the Dragon Soul would be pretty damn good. I mean, they have a solid front line. They got decent team fight that can bring to some of these fights, so the scaling can come online through that.
Interesting. They actually have 2 members kind of happening top side because it was the wave setup that was being caught by Clueless. He caught a second wave as well, and it should be top tower going down. But I want to see a full reset come through from both lemontartdreamer and Unless, who sit on the top side of the map, so they can work their way towards this dragon. Unless they really plan on hyper scaling here, and they're just like, okay, we got 2 dragons, we slowed down the game enough, we are good. This is a much faster play from Grandview. They cut into the mid lane with the Rift Herald. They should be able to take mid inner tower, and that gives them so much progression. This wave's going to be so far up to be able to move into the dragon pit with. But it's going to be harder for the side of San Diego to recapture this lane kind of movement here. And it's a good amount of gold that's gone back into Grandview as well. So if they get out unscathed, they're going to be able to spend more. Again, pushing this gold lead a little bit further and contesting the positioning that San Diego has in the river just to make sure that they can grab the dragon.
Yeah, Grandview University, priority on the Dragon Pit right now, but that's slowly fading as UC San Diego shoves in the mid wave. So now UC San Diego swinging around. Grandview, this might be the first one they can test right here. 18 minutes into this, we're starting to get into the mid game. Team fight, the front line available for UC San Diego. Those team fight tools, the depth charge, call the Forge God, waiting to be activated. They just need someone out of line, but there's a lot of mobility available for Grandview. It'll be easy for AIRREN to be able to slide out. Looking on the flank is Meslo. Far away though. Still UC San Diego unable to find anyone.
Yep, they're looking for an engagement. They've got 2 sides of this fight. They got Meslo on one side, the other side is another. Kolthro kind of wants to go over the pit and look for the dragon exclusively. LTD wrapping around. Nice cannon barrage to actually dislodge them from this position where they've got the dragon, although it's going to pull it a little further from them. Might actually reset the dragon. Wow, it came back to the other side. Kolthro pulled the aggro of the dragon. That's so tough.
Forcing the hand, forcing the hand, forcing the hand, and here it goes. It's been selected, grabbed. Grandview able to spear the dragon, but it's a 1-for-1 trade thus far, and suddenly UC San Diego get the lead. They're going to continue pushing the tempo as they go after Meslo. Requiem being sung. Is it enough to kill Meslo? Absolutely. Another one going to go down as Grandview grab one, but it's going to be returned instantly. Now Prankuru trying to run away, gets knocked up. Ank's able to bring the knock up and the ace for UC San Diego.
And the wrestle back in the Dragon Pit is enormous for San Diego, where they've got this big AoE damage, they've got team fight set up, they get it driven against them, and they just force in. Biggest thing, I think this ultimate onto Pluto, knocking him up. It was actually the supreme display of talent that stopped Pluto in his tracks, where the ultimate from the Rakan would have actually started this team fight off so well for GVU. But getting stopped like that was humongous. Great play to deny, and the ultimate afterwards from KingClueless dropped every member that was remaining just as low as possible. Fantastic usage to deny the kind of counter invade coming in from the Rakan in the midst of that to really shut down GVU's chances in a fight.
They started that with such a health deficit on top of it. I believe about 3 of their members had half health going into that fight, so excellent on that team fight for UC San Diego to stay alive, to still make this very, very competitive in the round of 32. Now Kolthro coming towards this top side. Not much attention has been paid towards this top side for Grandview University. Still have that tower up there.
I'm going to give so much props right now because this Karthus has been the thing that's propped up San Diego for the entirety of the game. Most of their game planning has gone around to it. 10 kills of the 11 that exist in the game have been assisted or kind of killed by the side of that KingClueless. He's almost on Rabadons. He's got a 10-stack Dark Seal for Magi soon enough. He's fed. He's a fed. Karthus is not fun to play against.
But now Onk's fighting. Here comes Clueless, as well as Disrespectful. Prankuru, realizing this is not the skirmish he wants to take, will sidestep to call the Forge God over the wall, through the tower, gets pulled right on in. Disrespectful will collect that paycheck.
On the other side of the map, they're taking Baron. There's 4 members. What is happening here? I guess LTD just has to, like, hope that he can miracle this.
Oh my god, lemontartdreamer's going in, but the Baron has been secured. The damage from Lemon-Tart! It was so close, Rebel, but not enough. Baron for Grandview.
The combination of ultimates is so menacing when you have enough damage in the Qiyana. And he's been put on the, like, just kind of cut down in a game like this. It's so unfortunate because 2.5, 3 M Qiyana, that's 4 dead members of the team immediately with the combination of KingClueless' ultimate. Thankfully, not enough to actually bring down enough members. The Baron does go over. They trade off the bottom tower, they trade off the kill, but ultimately really solid take from Grandview. They get themselves back into at least a position where they can start to look to manage the wave state better. They get a lot of gold back to neutralize that lead that San Diego had taken. And now we're back to more of an even state. This Baron should also really help set up for the Dragon for Grandview to make sure that they can kind of take this into 2 Infernal Drake territory and deny San Diego that sole point that could drive them into a forced team fight in the, 10 minutes from now, or I guess now 6.5 minutes from now.
If Lemon-Tart actually pulled that off, what would have been your response, Rebel? How much would you have freaked out over your wife pulling off the big counterplay?
So the thing was, there's basically none of that was like Lemontartdreamer. If he had stolen the Baron, I would have lost it. But the fight going over was almost exclusively KingClueless' ultimate. I wasn't going to be delusional about that one. That's 100% for sure. Yeah, KingClueless did the majority of that damage. Now, if he had swept it up, it would have been exciting. I would have been happy to say that he kind of pulled off the 1v5 miracle to be able to shut down a lot of GVU in that situation, which would have been well warranted in that circumstance. But yeah, GVU, I think more so than anything, again, the gold, the ability to push the wave to set up for the next dragon, it's what they need to kind of leverage with this Baron buff take. So close, though, is this Karthus to just being able to 1v5 in this game.
Pushing in the waves is going to be Grandview University, focusing over on this bottom half of the map. You have 50 seconds before Dragon spawns, and that would be soul point for UC San Diego, who weren't able to secure the last Dragon. Grandview, even though they lost that team fight, they did get to secure in the grand scheme of things. So UC San Diego toward this side of the map. And it is Infernal Drake. Karthus very much would love that. A fed Karthus on top of that with the death cap.
A fed Karthus would very much enjoy an Infernal Soul. He would be popping people probably with single Qs or single ultimates just in general. And again, there's no one to soak damage here. They got to build magic in this. Okay, Onks.
Right, here we go. Call the Forge God. No, Onks misses it. Now here comes the Requiem, trying to get one onto Kolthro. Kolthro was able to stay alive. Now Pluto jumps in, gets dropped by another one, as the Nautilus will be able to back off. Prankuru gets dropped by lemontartdreamer in the process, as AIRREN still getting in those Mystic shots, looking for Onks, going golden, buying time. Meslo hops on out. Still this skirmish going so handily for UC San Diego, but they are getting low. The poke is starting to work out of AIRREN. He will jump forward, but it will cost him his life. Distorting backwards will be Meslo, able to stay alive. Almost tanks Onks in the process. Kolthro coming out from the flank. There's a lot you have to fight through right here. This is going to be a tough one for the duo of Kolthro and Meslo. They're still staying here. They're still thinking about it. The hook doesn't go in. unless not able to land it. Now looking to start up the Drake. Infernal Drake started by Grandview University.
They need to be able to stop this. Kolthro's got the smite, and if they can take the dragon, this is a winning situation. If they don't get the dragon, then Grandview has just kind of gotten away with murder, because that fight looked like it was disastrous to start things off. Ludo's back as well. The best they can hope for, I think, is to buy time for everybody to get back in time, but KingClueless is not going to be here. Yeah, it looks like they're just going to have to see this. What a play from Grandview, somehow clutching the very tail end. Can't play with my heart like that. Disrespecter. I knew for a fact I wasn't going to snag it, so yeah, Grandview. That looked like dire situation. It looked like they were going to lose the 5-on-5. It looked like they were going to lose the dragon, and all like in one fell swoop. It seemed like maybe Grandview's chances of the game slowly diminished very heavily, but taking this dragon opens up so much for them. It opens up the game for a very, very high longevity that I don't know we were expecting inside of this one. Actually, I can tell you I was expecting it. I told you this was going to be a long game.
This is going to the deep end. This is very much going to the deep end. And Eric, I'm calling my own name here. AIRREN, so good at the way he was able to get that poke in. A lot of these Mystic shots are doing so much work for Grandview to be able to stay in these fights, because it's safe, reliable damage. Coming in from range, you don't have to sacrifice much. True Shot Barrage, still functioning in a very similar way as it gets thrown out for more harassment. But Prankuru in the bottom lane, rest of Grandview holding around this mid jungle.
Props to AIRREN in that last fight for clutching that kill against KingClueless. Even if he went down for it, the big thing is, again, no smite, and the fact that Kolthro was still alive at the end of that, especially getting the reset, getting half his health back from killing lemontartdreamer on the back end of that fight, it really did mean a world of difference, because it meant that there was no dragon contest. Now they're collapsing onto Prankuru, who is a little bit too far up. The same could be said of King, the other side.
Trying to get to the blast plan alongside the depth charge. Lots of damage on the lemontartdreamer. Will go down. So the collapse working for UC San Diego. There were no neutral objectives on the table, so Grandview couldn't do the same punish they did before. But UC San Diego got to be quick. Here comes Grandview coming down the mid lane.
Yeah, but they don't have a wave with them. They did catch the wave very, very high, which means that, of course, theirs is going to be able to stomp very far in, and the second one is going to catch, I think, even a little bit further up mid lane than just in the pure middle right at the river level, but I want to know what it actually gets for them. If anything, I think it was just them clearing to make sure that somebody was going to have to stop and not be able to push a little bit further onto the map than what you normally would. It's just a nice pick, and not even ultimate burnt right there, I think, from the entirety of San Diego, punishing Prankuru, pushing so much on the bottom side of the map.
Now with Baron spawning within the next 20 seconds, a reset coming out of Grandview University. You will have another 2 minutes and 50 seconds before that third Infernal Drake hits the map. Look at Meslo. Oh, going for the assassination onto Lemon-Tart. Will get it for the supreme display of talent. Does enough work. Requiem. Ooh. Hourglass from Meslo.
Karthus counter, baby. Let's go. Meslo understands the tech. We could see it on as many characters as possible. I actually wouldn't completely blame AIRREN for building that one in this either. I don't think any amount of magic resist can save you from what this Karthus' damage is going to do to you one way or another. Like, you could build Force of Nature in this game, and it probably wouldn't save you from his damage. So in the grand scheme of things, maybe that is just the play. Just dodge the ultimate or try to dodge out enough time to get your E cooldown back. So thoughts for multiple members that could potentially buy that. I think Ludo probably has to consider it as well. Anybody who can buy one should buy one, probably, just to make sure the Karthus doesn't one-shot you before a fight.
It's a 2,600 gold tax to go ahead and survive the Karthus for a lot of these fights, but it's well worth it if you have moments like that where you can find the assassination Meslo, getting that onto lemontartdreamer. Still, so many small picks, so many small victories coming out for Grandview University that have been amounting to some pretty big potential plays. Now, Onks over in the top side. A fight going to break out as Grandview collapsing onto KingClueless. Will take down KingClueless. Ultimate now going to be popped as Kolthro goes into that Karthus form. Pluto trying to save him. There goes another knock-up. Kolthro going back into the Viego form. Now Pluto staying alive, going golden. lemontartdreamer gets caught out by a chain, but Meslo has to back up immediately. So this is going to result in a 1-for-1 exchange thus far. AIRREN over the wall throwing in some Mystic shots. It's a 4 versus 4 waiting to unwind. UC San Diego not going to challenge. Grandview now getting priority on the Baron.
Not worth it at all. They lose their Baron. They lose their #1 damage healer on this team. San Diego does not take this trade. That is a very bad play. The only thing saving them right now is the fact that Dragon is up in 1 minute. And the fear is that, like, if they go for Baron and they can't redeploy for Dragon, if they can't win off that Baron, they actually have just given up soul point to a team with a Karthus with that much potential. Like, they are forced into a fight, which is a bad situation for them. all they have to do is not die to the Baron. This was a place where, like, again, it was really good from Kolthro to find that kind of individual play against King to find that last kill. Getting out of this situation as well, again, protecting Kolthro again in one of these engagements. This is GVU understanding the premise of needing to keep that jungler alive so that they can keep up the threat of the neutral objective smite. Being able to have that Baron meant that, like, San Diego can't push forward even if they wanted to. Not that they could, probably without the Karthus being around. So we're just right back to where we were a second ago. Next dragon is going to be available here in only a couple of seconds. That's a play. Almost snagged AIRREN.
Respect out of Unless. Attempted the engage onto AIRREN. So close to grabbing AIRREN. True shot. Oh, waiting for it to come through. Goes on to Unless. He still pops the stopwatch, but takes the damage in the process. Stopwatch kind of used for nothing there. Now is Meslo looking to get away from this one. Putting the damage onto lemontartd. Gets away from the Requiem. lemontartd so low. Meslo gets the kill onto him. Now KingClueless looking for his vengeance. Putting down the wall of pain. Putting down the Skittles. Will be able to trip up Meslo. KingClueless grabs that one. Disrespectful. Now on the run. 200 health remains. Dragon acquired by Grandview University. With lemontartdreamer down and control going over to Grandview. They're headed over towards this Baron side.
So a few things to consider. First off, Karthus still alive, still full health, so there's not really that much threat of a Baron because you're terrified of what the Karthus is able to do if you pinch yourself into a small space. The Dragon is humongous for Grandview because grabbing this away and making sure San Diego doesn't have the ability to box you into a fight for the next 5 minutes gives you some breathing space to work with. The Infernal Soul is humongous, right? Because it provides Ezreal with a bunch of damage, it provides Meslo with more burst, Prankuru, Kolthro, every member of this team is doing damage, right? Like, you want the Infernal Soul. But it doesn't win you the game because you have to kill these members, which means if Karthus is still doing damage at the end of a fight or is able to kill 2 or 3 members, it doesn't matter that you have Infernal Soul. So that's at least something to consider, that while it does increase your chances greatly, Grandview's not done yet. This is a fast Baron.
Oh my god, it went down. I did not believe it was going to drop that quickly.
I don't think anybody did. I certainly wasn't expecting it to be done as soon as I finished that statement, but I'm glad I started it when I did. Oh, no way! He just caught it with that. Nah, it's so far out.
Ah, if you had the follow-up. So close to catching Kolthro right there. But the sneaky Baron coming out from UC San Diego. You know, that damage that's coming out of the Karthus, the Defile as well as the Skittles that comes through. It really does add up to the damage that you can bring to get a very fast Baron.
One problem with this, of course, is that this doesn't help them set up waves for Infernal Dragon. So if that's what they were trying to do, it's not going to get anything. Instead, they're going to use the push-up mid lane and try to get an inhibitor. That's a huge way to start a fight. They're just going to drive them off entirely. Look at the half health on half the team.
That's a classic Karthus play right there. You use the Requiem before the fight, even taking a chance. Oh, this channel coming through a little bit too close right there. But getting exactly what they wanted. You see San Diego, they got an inhibitor, they got Baron, they got out.
They did. They've taken back the gold advantage. Now it's about being able to kind of set up the lanes that you want to set up for the long term here to be able to push where you need them to push. The mid inhibitor being down for this long does mean they have something to work with when it pertains to being able to set up the Dragon in just a couple of minutes. So we could end up in a position where Grandview may just have to yield the Infernal Dragon and we go to a 7-dragon game, which would be our first one. I don't know if the tournament necessarily, but definitely the first one on this stream so far. As again, 32 minutes. No decisive victor as of yet. Neither team bending or breaking completely to what the other team has been able to accomplish. And we've gotten into like super late game, so like not only we're like full 5-item Karthus, we're talking about 5-item plus Ornn upgrade Karthus. This is just about as powerful as you can get. The only thing you can do is technically sell his boots for more AP if you wanted to, but you don't even know if that's necessary in this case because the Karthus does more than enough damage for what he's got right now.
The push coming out of UC San Diego over in the bottom lane. Baron empowered siege. So much you have to respect because the damage is massive from UC San Diego. That Karthus dies in the middle of your team is dying with him. Grandview University starting to push forward.
They are. The Baron buff is only going to last another like wave, maybe 2 waves here. AIRREN continues to. He's playing with my emotions. There's the ultimate.
Oh, scream display of talent onto Pluto. Pluto falls oh so low. He will drop thanks to the ignite that came out from lemontartdreamer. Now UC San Diego, they smell blood in the water. They're going after AIRREN. True shot.
Oh no.
AIRREN, he gets the kill. Prankuru will be able to take him down. Is there a Requiem? No. AIRREN is safe, and now UC San Diego, they have to back out. They can't continue the push. Here comes Kolthro. Comes out of the flank. Gets the kill onto lemontartdreamer. Still looking for more. They want to
take the ace. Backup is arriving. AIRREN showing up to the fight. Going golden is going to be Kolthro. Meslo on the sidelines and fighting back as Grandview University as they find the ace.
Kolthro is an animal to be able to get into the back line right there. They're going to teleport maybe. Okay, I don't think he can actually end right here and right now. This is an insane setup. They start off with this huge Karthus ultimate. They get the kill onto the Rakan, and they extend too far getting AIRREN. If they kill AIRREN, I think they can end the game right here and right now. And he almost gets him, but the chain barrel from Prankuru, who has been bullied all game, finds that play. And watch the wraparound of it. Look where Kolthro is at right now. He knows he can do it. He's got the damage. He finds lemontartdreamer on the flash W, and he gets the reset angle, and he starts to pick apart this team. He gives his team another sign of life. The game is nowhere near over right now, Decerux. We've got way more League of Legends to play.
Kolthro clutching it out with that catch onto Lemontart. Oh, AIRREN just barely staying alive. Man, my heart is beating off of this one. And we have a dragon spawning in 5 seconds. Death timer just running out for Onks. Here comes the Requiem once again, used to just dissuade this Baron take. This is Dragon's Soul Point. Over the wall comes lemontartdreamer, looks to find Prankuru. Is going to be able to take him down to start off this fight. Call the Force God looking to go through. Clueless tries to walk out. He'll be able to scare the dragon. It goes over to him. But there is AIRREN still alive, going after Unless. Able to get the autos, able to get the Mystic Shot. Will grab the kill now with the double. Trying to back off, trying to get this fight to go the way of Grandview, flashing forward with the Mystic Shot. Disrespectful, trying to run on out. He cannot escape. Trying to defend his Ox. He wants to be the front line. He wants to fight, but his marksman is damn dead. And so is he as AIRREN finds the ace.
And that's the game. That's Grandview who's going to take it. It was such an exciting match. And the Dragon was taken. I thought we were going to get a chance to go to all 7. And we were going to get a chance to see the Infernal Soul come through potentially for one of these teams. But we don't. They spend so much getting into the river. They spend so much. They overextend themselves. They lose their team. And no one's going to be up unless KingClueless are able to get up in the next 5 seconds. But I think the game is just over. I think Grandview just takes this one.
Nexus tower going down. Death timer. It's only unless that's up. Down goes the Nexus. Grandview University. My lord, Rebel, can your heart take it?
What an ending, man. I can't ask for anything more. Going to all 7 Drakes, having that kind of scaling, ridiculous play out of both teams. And I have to say, like, there's heroics from a number of players in a number of plays here. Kolthro saved that game so many times, man. So many times that this guy got into the backline. He found a kill. He found an elimination that was necessary. Got the resets going for his team and just was able to barely scrape out a winning situation. And if it weren't for that, weren't for those clutch moments of the veteran here on this GVU squad, it might have been a very different tale we were telling. We might have been going to game 3.
I'm sorry, I'm still looking at some of the replays of this footage because, my God, my heart is beating from what we just witnessed right here because, you know, that fight was so chaotic. Dragon was secured on UC San Diego's side. You know, we had that potential right there for that very, very late game 7 Dragon game you were talking about. Oh, so close it was. Oh, my God. AIRREN played that so beautifully as well in the backline, able to kite out, stay untouched for oh so long. His health bar never went down. Grandview University coming together as a squad. My goodness, they succeed on their mission to get into the round of 16.
They did. It was San Diego who put everything into making sure that KingClueless could have everything he needed to really try to carry this game, and he nearly did. The problem is they had nothing else behind him, so once he was dead in fights, there was just no fight left remaining for the remainder of the side of San Diego, who, let's be real here, they gave us the most exciting 2-0 we saw in the entirety of round of 32. Maybe one of the best round of 32 best of 2s we have ever seen right here between these two games. Some of the most exciting gameplay, one of the closest games against GVU, who's a very real contender for some of the top spots inside of this tournament. What a performance. In a 2-0, you can't actually look a lot better than that right there.
And I do want to highlight 2 players real quick. I don't consider them the MVPs. Well, it's actually kind of hard to choose an MVP in this one, but I consider them studs nonetheless. AIRREN and Pluto, these are 2 players who are currently right now looking for Proving Grounds teams. They've been phenomenal so far. Pluto is such a phenomenal leader. He's someone who's hardworking, always been very hungry for growth, incredibly versatile. Both of these players are top-notch. They are a stellar duo, to say the least. So any scouts out there taking notice for the Proving Grounds, keep a close eye on AIRREN and Pluto.
all of GVU, man, it's a talented team. Those two have made a ridiculous amount of growth in a short amount of time. I remember seeing Plux when we were at Gateway Legends, I think it was the name of the tournament, when he was still on, he was with the Cubby on Miami, and he was playing off-rolling in jungle. And the amount of growth that he's taken from just that moment was kind of insane. This bot lane was a big reason why they were able to succeed today, being able to overtake a lot of what UC San Diego was able to provide. Being that consistent rock, that foundation that they could kind of build the rest of the team on. And that was what overcame in a number of different situations. While you call out Kolthro, I know, for having really big star power moments, those two were consistently good throughout the entire series, able to put the team on their back when the time was necessary in times of strife. Definitely, I agree 100%. These two more than talented enough to be able to take a lot.
All right, Rebel, you can finally breathe, man. We are done. That is it for the cast in this. My name has been Decerux. This has been Rebel Fox, who has put on a hell of a cast for CLOL today. We can't thank you enough for being a color caster on this long shift, but now we got to throw this game over to our analyst desk. I know they're dying to break it down because this was a very competitive 2-0 between Grandview and UC San Diego. Jensen, please take it away.
Right, welcome back to Analyst Desk, and I have to say, there was a much closer set of games, but unfortunately, this means that UC San Diego will be falling 0-2 to Grandview University, much closer than the first two sets that we had earlier in the day, and I have to say, in some of those games, I was on the edge of my seat when it came to looking at those team fights, right? What do you think was the overarching picture that resulted in this result of the second game?
Well, to me, I think it was about flank angles for both teams. I think that LeBlanc needs to play in fog pretty much the entire game, threaten the Karthus, threaten the Qiyana, don't allow them to get into their own flank angles. And it's the same thing on the other side, where Qiyana wants to be in the back, such that Karthus can just, do what he did on stream, where he just does 80% of your health with the ult. He just needs that little extra help, and that has to come from Qiyana in this game.
Yeah, it's a battle of range between these two compositions as well. You have the side of UCSD where they have much more solid 5v5 team fight if they can engage into a 5v5 fight. But GVU, on the other hand, are much more slippery. They have champions like LeBlanc, GP, Ezreal. These are champions who have a lot of range in their tool and in their kits. And if they can utilize that range in order to poke the enemy team down before a skirmish or a fight, that's where they can build those sort of advantages. And you saw in that game how hard it was. So even though Karthus was so fed, it was so hard for him to deal damage at DPS because, as you mentioned, TJ, he didn't quite have the setup that he needed in order to get close enough to do damage in these fights and to deal out that DPS with his build.
I mean, to recap the game, it felt like the Karthus was on a track to carry the game for the side of UC San Diego. He was getting a Kate to secure the first two Drakes for their side, and it seemed like they were in a position to kind of win the game. But let's look at the first replay where they all overcommit for Prankuru's Gangplank and give the Baron Nashor over to Grandview University as we bring that up. TJ, let's break this one down.
Yeah, so UCSD decides, hey, we're going to go critical on the side lane, but unfortunately, Baron is spawned at this point. They commit 4 members, and while they do end up killing the Gangplank, they just concede the Baron. We do see an impressive Karthus ult go off, and Qiyana does try to salvage, where they try to trade some kills to get Barons off, but it's just not enough. This is really a questionable play in my mind, because it's not like GP was creating an infinite amount of pressure or really forcing the game to go a certain way. So this feels like just a rushed error where they're like, oh, go kill side without understanding what the enemy's counterplay will be. And that is one of the core foundational pieces of making plays in League is what is the enemy going to do while we are doing our piece.
So definitely the macro map movements, not putting themselves in the best, and I have to say that was the start of the breaks, halting the UC San Diego train from really snowballing this game. And then as more time was bought for the LeBlanc, the Ezreal, and for the Gangplank to hit the scaling power point, we can now take a look at the 30-minute Drake fight. And this one, I'll leave it to Tal to break down the intricacies of this and what this composition with the multi-carry threat can do and how annoying it must feel for the side of UC San Diego for them to deal with.
Yeah, so in this skirmish towards the later ends of the game, you have the champions that, as I talked about earlier, were LeBlanc and Ezreal. They have so much range and flexibility in this comp, and GP, they can deal out a lot of damage outside of being able to be engaged upon. You see Ezreal really slippery away from that Nautilus hook. Even if it hit, he'd still be able to get away with Arcane Shift. And LeBlanc holding a flank position here just leaves a lot to be desired on the side of UCSD to be able to engage on this fight. They have to be worried about where LeBlanc is his entire time. They have to keep face checking her and marking her on the side. And this can cause a lot of space for the side of GVU to secure this dragon, to cleanly get away with 1 or 2 picks, and just have an extended fight like this where it heavily favors their composition and what they want to do.
When the opponents approach from one angle, it's much easier for them to deal with. With all these slippery champions from multiple angles, I think UC San Diego struggled to deal with that a little bit. Qiyana had an important role to do that, didn't fulfill that. And I think that might have what led us into the third replay of the series, where we're going to take a look at this bot siege, where perhaps KingClueless fell a little bit too pressured. Okay, my team's not really finding these angles. I have the Baron. Is this push on the ball and that he has to make something happen? Maybe this moment is what will haunt him if he looks back and say that this is the what if moment if he played this differently. The flash onto the bot lane turret, let's try to bring them up. Let's try to bring that up. And maybe this is the moment that KingClueless will kind of regret. TJ, let's bring us through this replay.
He's definitely feeling pressured at this point because there's been a lot of mistakes going on from their side throughout the course of the game. And even though they're in a winning, I think, position, or at least they have potential to create plays here, he feels a little rushed based on seeing the low HP bar on AIRREN, who has been elusive this entire game. He couldn't be hit by any Nautilus Qs. Qiyana could never find him. AIRREN did an extremely good job of positioning. And so as soon as he sees that he can potentially kill the Ezreal, he does try to flash forward. We find a Gangplank barrel instead, and that results in a death. This then allows Kolthro to go Viego mode, is what we'll call it, where he's able to just go through and clean up the rest of the four. And to be honest, I really don't fault KingClueless for going for a play like this, because there is a world where maybe he dies there. You could always click the character to see if he would have died, because he's landed a Q before, but that's a small thing. Really, the big theme in this is that Qiyana still couldn't impact this fight, and I think that's been consistent throughout all of the games, where there was just a lack of showing up really for the Qiyana. Where imagine that was in like jungle, that situation, Qiyana might be able to clean, and that was the big difference maker.
Right, very close games today from both sides. I have to say, KingClueless is definitely impressing me from the side of GC San Diego. We hyped him up as the veteran player to lead the team. He really grabbed them and tried to drag them across the finish line. But unfortunately, League of Legends is a 5v5 game. You have to get the supporting pieces to be there. Hit the spells in the first game. Make sure that they do their part to enable your Karthus to actually get across the finish line in the second one. And congratulations once again to the side of GVU University, who will be proceeding to the round of 16. And any final closing thoughts from you guys?
Yeah, I'd like to highlight how well UCSD played. They had a bunch of mid-jungle linking up, and for such a young roster, maybe it's new facility buff, new scholarship buff, whatever it is, for being what was a student-run program to then turn into competing against a team that's kind of been established, a big group of friends that plays an amateur that's very well known. I would say they've had a pretty impressive performance. It might not look that great on paper to end in round of 32 for them, but I think they should be proud, and that's where over the next couple of years, I think you'll see these players come back a lot stronger than they were here.
Yeah, and TJ, you got your 2-0 prediction finally came through. it was looking a little rocky in both those games, and they're very long. But as I said before, GVU they like to brawl it out, and some of these games go pretty late, and they're really fun to watch. And I think this was by far the most entertaining series of the day, and it was exciting to see UCSD fight back. I think they had some really cool champions as well.
Right, and we have some interviews lined up. We'll be back after a quick break. Here with me is from UC San Diego, KingClueless, and I have to say, he put on hell of a performance today. Unfortunately, his team was not able to go across the finish line. Well, I'm going to give you some time. Introduce yourself to the audience over here as perhaps the in-game leader, and what's your role in the team like?
So I'm a second-year student. Obviously, I'm the jungler for the team, and I guess in-game as a jungler, I kind of try to control the flow of the game. So like all the wave states, like whether we can dive and stuff. So just like general macro stuff early game.
Well, and as a coach, that's something I love to hear. If you're saying that you're responsible for controlling the flow of the game, throughout most of the games, I said you had all of those games under your control, right? So good job, props to you with that. But before we go more to talk about the in-game stuff, let's share with us a little bit more about the program there at UC San Diego. I'm hearing things about you guys having a new facility. I'm hearing that is this mostly a student-run initiative? What's happening over there in terms of esports?
So the esports club at San Diego is mostly student run, and last year it's like honestly I wouldn't say it's that big right now. Like last year, my first year was COVID, so I wanted to apply to the league team. So I searched like on Twitter, anywhere for like our school's esports page just to apply. And I think for most people, unless you're really looking for it, it's not really out there. But I think recently they've been doing a better job of trying to, I guess, promote it in our school.
Right now, I think that perhaps they're showing, making it to the stage itself, being on the academy stream. Perhaps there's people out there watching it that might find interest, and maybe you guys get a few new recruits, right, for the esports club. Hopefully, hoping for the best that might happen. Let's get into some of the in-game stuff over there, right? Game one, you play the hack room. That's a champion that has got the ability, especially in the competitive level, to really facilitate the team fights and make a lot of different plays. What made you decide to swap over to play something like Karthus, which is more of a scaling hard carry DPS option, without the ability to really control the team fights on your own?
So initially after game one, we thought the Victor was like a big problem. It was really hard to just punish him in lane, and I think we were actually thinking of playing Diana Yasuo into it, and we're gonna pick in the second phase if they pick Victor. But then we just ended up banning it, I think, and then we wanted our mid laner really wanted to play Qiyana because it's one of his comfort picks. So yeah, and then I thought about the best AP jungler I could play, so I picked Karthus. Yeah.
I have to say though, that was a very good composition that you guys had. If it weren't for, if some things in the game went differently, that definitely could have been adopted. You guys got the first two dragons. You were really far ahead on the cards as well, and I think the rest of the composition makes sense with what you guys had as well, right?
Yeah, I agree.
Is
I
there
think
anyone you'd like to highlight that you think played particularly well in your team today?
wait, sorry.
Is there anybody on your team that you would like to highlight that you say, hey, this is my teammate, I think it played particularly well today?
Um I think everyone like played pretty well today, honestly. But I think people I want to highlight are my top and ADC. I think honestly, sometimes in scrims, I'm not a great teammate a lot of the time, so I give them a lot of flack. But I think today they played really well, and I think like the opponent top laner and ADC, they're really good players. So and I think considering that, they did a lot better, honestly, than what I thought they would. So props to
Right, as they
them.
say, improvement is key, and what we're trying to do here is we are scaling into the late game, right? As they always say in game, right? Don't worry,
Yeah.
guys, we got this. We scaling, right? So now here's a question. Right? Obviously, you guys are out of the tournament right now, but as always, next year there is CLO 2023. Now, if you had a magic genie, what is one wish you wish for, or perhaps a better run in the future?
Um, the only real thing I wish for is to win West Conference, I guess, and that would mean beating mainly UCI. So I guess next year, hope we can beat UCI in a best of 5.
All right, so it's the UC Derby that you guys are looking forward to, right? UCI versus UC San Diego. Right, guys, mark that on your calendars. 1 year from now, the finals of the West Conference. That's what it's gonna be. That's what, and maybe KingClueless will be able to carry in that one. Perhaps some new changes to the roster as well might be happening. And with that, we'd like to shout out anybody else or bring up anything else before we bring an end to this interview.
I think I want to shout out a lot of the staff on the team, like coaches, but I guess mainly my coach Mike for I think he does a really good job of keeping the team together, especially mentally. And I think I want to thank my manager actually because I think especially in this quarter, especially with like school getting busy and stuff, he's helped me a lot with just even stuff outside of league. So thankful for that.
Right. And with that, thanks for coming for this interview. And after this, we will have a second interview with the winners. But before that, a quick break. Once again, thank you to KingClueless.
All right, thank you.
And back with me here is Kolthro, the jungler of GVU. Lots of junglers on stream today in the interview section. And I have to say, that was definitely a clincher of the series. I'm not sure you would agree with that. Run me through what was going through your head at certain points at any point of the game, if you guys felt that, hey, maybe we might be in trouble here.
So definitely during the first game, I felt no problem at all. They, for some reason, let Udyr go through the draft, and so I felt no pressure. I knew we were gonna win as soon as I got past first couple clears. And then second game definitely was a bit of a clincher. wasn't 100% sure we're going to be able to pull it out versus obviously an insane champion like Karthus on this patch. But through like creative ways of playing the game, through flanks with LeBlanc, Viego, we got it. So.
Now, of most of the round of 32 matches, quite a lot of them have been one-sided storms, but I think this is one where we had two very skilled junglers going up against one another. Do you think that this would give us a preview of what the C-LoL meta is going to be looking like in the jungle?
I do think that compared to Pro, Seal has a lot more room because of the low level of play that you can start picking more creative stuff, especially the Karthus, especially. I've seen some junglers play Wukong. You can start playing champions that kind of cheat the game in a way, and they can't get punished at this low of a level. So I do think that, like, especially jungle meta will definitely be a bit different than Pro. Like we see Trundle, we see Zinzao, we see J4, all that stuff. So I definitely think jungle will be different. I also think AD is changing a lot because the Jinx nerfs coming on Wednesday for the round of 16 match. I think every single collegiate team is just playing Jinx, looking to scale. So it'll probably change things up. Yeah.
All right, down with the scaling warlords, you know. All right, let's talk a little bit about your next opponents. There's going to be University of Western Ontario, another very prolific jungler. Winston, he has been in and out of the academy scene, being at the top of amateur quite a few times, but a pretty deep run in Proving Grounds himself last year as well. What are your thoughts going up against him and his team?
I've been playing for a while. Not really playing at like the highest level, but I've been pretty confident the whole way, and I'm not really scared of any of the other junglers of this tournament. I don't think there's one that necessarily stands out to me. So I think like all the top like 5 to 8 junglers are relatively around the same skill, especially considering the rest of Uwo's roster. I'm not really too concerned. Obviously, I think Winston is the best player on the roster, and definitely respect to him. But I do think I'll be confident in the match.
Right, strong fighting words coming out here from Kolthro. And I have to say, though, you guys have one of the hardest brackets out there. People are talking about teams that have easy brackets. People are talking about teams that are hardest brackets. Right from the get-go, UC San Diego. Next round, University of Western Ontario. Third round, possibly UST. And then you guys might even have to go through my team, Maryville, or Winthrop, whoever comes out ahead. That's too early to say, but you get the picture here. It's a very tough bracket that you guys are running. When you guys saw the bracket draw, what do you guys say? What do you guys think? Were there any things thrown? Any Twitter posts made? What was the general response to the bracket?
I think everyone knows that. I mean, it's very clear. The right side of the bracket. I'm pretty sure we would run all the way to the finals pretty easily. But with this side, we have the 3 strongest seed A teams. We have Winthrop, Maryville, Western. So, but fortunately enough for us, I think we drafted a pretty one of the easier. I forgot USD, but we drafted one of the easier teams first. Western. I think that Western is one of the weaker of the top teams, I would say. So drawing them in the round of 16. Is obviously better than drawing you guys, better than drawing UST in the round of 16. I think UST and MEMU are looking at the hot shots to take the title. So, but I still do think that our team, with how emotional we play, and especially if I can make it to the LAN, then we can take games off anyone. So, yeah.
So right now, taking things one set at a time, just make it to the LAN, and then when we get to the LAN, new meta, new things. You never know. I think new champion will be out by then. And maybe it's going to be GVU's story all the way from there, right?
Yep.
Right. Is there anyone on your team that you'd like to highlight or shout out? Someone who has been supporting you guys, someone you think played particularly well?
I do think that our top laner Prank gets a lot of pressure every single game, and it's pretty rough for him a lot of the time, especially considering the meta where you have the scaling ADs that you have to cater to, and then you have the tops, you have Ornn, you have GP, you have these scaling picks that it's relatively hard to completely play through. So I feel for Prank. Shout out to Prank for weak siding every game. Meslo also takes over a lot of games if you give him the right picks and the right matchups. So Meslo is a huge carry for our team. And then our bot lane has slowly been getting better ever since I got here. And actually I'm super impressed with everything I got here. So I think I'm pretty lucky with my teammates.
Right. Above that, I think that wraps up our winners interview. Of course, wishing you guys the best of luck in the rounds to come. We previewed the bracket for a little bit there. Don't just leave right yet. We'll be back to close everything off and then give you guys a summary and rundown of what will be happening in the weeks to come. And here we are back with the endless tasks after some interviews. I think let's go straight. Oh, wait. Yep, like I said, here we are back at the analyst desk after some interviews. Once again, thanks to Kolthro for his time and for giving us the interview. I think obviously it's a very well spoken man there, right?
Yeah, Devin's really Devin's really good at talking about his picks and his teammates. He's a very humble dude, but when he gets his champions, when he's confident, when he goes to lands, he's a very different person. He's loud, he's excited, he gets a little hyper, he gets in your face, and I think that's why he talks about how he's so excited to get to the land, because Devin is known for being very much in your face and loud and a go-getter. Like, I like Devin a
You
lot.
can hear him down the block, like when he screams at the land. So it's always exciting.
Right, and with that, let's take a look at next week's matchups. Graphic.
So I'm personally most excited for all the state schools playing each other. So like UCI, ISU, which is not pictured here, it's on the other side. And from this side, I'm really excited to watch the Western versus GVU game, as Devin highlighted. I think that'll be the closest series of this side, and it'll be. I would say the more interesting games would come in the round after that, which will be in LA. So super excited for those, but on the side, Western GVU is my pick.
And
Yeah, I
just to
think
run through the rest of the bracket, University of St. Thomas will be playing University of Michigan. Maryville University will be playing University of Buffalo. Winthrop will be going up against University of Colorado, Boulder, right? I'm pretty sure I got
Boulder.
those works mixed around somewhere someplace, but CU versus WU. Let's take a look at the other side of bracket. This time, Tyler Runner's shootout.
Yeah, I think everyone was talking about how in the bracket, the left side and the right side were so different, but actually the right side is way more hype for the round of 16. There's so many close matches. I feel like any one of these matches would be really, really exciting to watch, especially the Converse ASU match. I think it's going to get not as much hype as some of these other ones, whereas this match, Converse had a huge win over Bethany, and on top of that, they're going up against ASU, who didn't really get much competition in their last round. The Converse has a lot of hype coming into this match, and I think it's going to be a little bit tough for ASU, but I'm most excited about the BSC SLU match. I think this match could honestly really go either way. BSC has not been contested at all in their conference, and now they're coming up off of a match that was also very, very, very weak opponent for them. No shout against MC. BSC is just a really strong team, and they're going up against SLU, who struggled against York. They went 2-1, almost lost to York. This match could really go either way, and it's going to be really exciting to watch, in my opinion.
Right, and to round off the rest of the brackets, UC Irvine will be playing up against the Redbirds in ISU. We have to say that this might be the battle of the scaling warlords in the mid lane. I personally think that Drudoza is the trophy of CLOL. And we have MSU with RBM with all his fire. We had the live scouting report with him. Let's see if that can pay off when they face up against Harrisburg. I think that wraps it up for the brackets. Lots of exciting games coming your way. Tune in next week to the Collegiate League of Legends Championship. And with that, I think that brings us to the end of today's broadcast. I hope you guys enjoyed the cast. This is my first time hosting in a very, very long time. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And shout out to TJ and Tyler for being fantastic analysts on the desk. And of course, to you guys are awesome. You guys are what makes esports by watching this stream.